Cricket fans, the FlowSports platform has another good one for you. It's the Super Smash T20 League in New Zealand. The Wellington Firebirds won the last tournament. Who will it be for the 2021-2022 staging? For the answer, join FlowSports from now until the end of December for Super Smash T20 Cricket. Also available on the FlowSports app.
Hello to the world of football. No matter where you are or what you're doing right now, the wait is over. Because it's all about Der Klassiker. Borussia Dortmund versus FC Bayern München.
Stream the Bundesliga on the Caribbean's most watched sports app, FlowSports.
Jump up, people, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand. It's time to party.
Hello and welcome to On Tour, the West Indies in Sri Lanka. It's day one of the second test at Galle. I'm Andrew Seeley and you're on FlowSports for On Tour. And joining me on tour, former West Indies pacer Tino Best and international commentator at Lord's at the moment, Johnny Barron. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, Andrew.
Well, Tino, it's not been a good morning for the West Indies. First up, there was the rain, and then we got about 34 overs in, and Sri Lanka got to another good start, another century stand. But first up, let's look at the team as selected by the West Indies. We had two changes. Rakeem Cornwall and Shannon Gabriel were out. Versamy Permaul and Kemar Roach in. Any surprises on that part, Tino?
Look, the Shannon Gabriel decision obviously was a no-brainer, but I felt that Rakeem Cornwall with Ross and Chase getting a fifer and getting ahead of him in the pecking order, I just felt that you could have pushed and pulled Rakeem somewhat and brought in. I was looking for probably another pacer, but they went for the left-hand spinner, trying to mimic what Sri Lanka has done, but so far it's come up somewhat short already.
Johnny, any thoughts on the selection of the team by the West Indies, or were you thinking along these same lines?
Yeah, certainly Kemar Roach. I mean, he's taken 27 wickets in international cricket so far this year, at an average of around about a shade under 22. I mean, he's a fine cricketer, and it was a surprise, to be honest, for him not to be in the side at the beginning of the series. As far as Versamy Permaul coming into the side, I mean, first game since 2015, 6 years is quite a long time to be out of international cricket. But I can understand the rationale, as Tino alluded to, in terms of having that in the attack.
In terms of the Sri Lankan team, Tino, one change. They've taken out a fast bowler and brought in another spinner or spinning all-rounder in Sharif Asalanka, who did quite well at the T20 World Cup just recently.
Yeah, a good pick as well, because they're just saying to themselves, look, the West Indies can't play spin. We're going to give them another strong dose of spin, unless with the rain as well around and the inclement weather, they'll be looking to get a big score, big first inning score, and look to bundle up West Indies cheap again in both innings. And that's what you want. You want to see a captain, the selectors making the right decisions and picking horses for courses, something that the West Indies have not been able to do in the last 12 months or so.
Johnny, Craig Brathwaite must be saying to himself, when can I win a toss? He called heads, I believe, in the first test, and it turned out to be tails, and he called tails in this test, and it turned out to be heads, and Sri Lanka got exactly what they wanted, to bat first, even though it took 4 hours for the play to start.
Yeah, never change your call, do you? I think that a lesson in that somewhere along the line. But look, it's not. I mean, the thing about cricket is just such a weight of expectation and opportunity. It does rely on the toss. It always has done, and especially in conditions like in Gaul, on a pitch that's drier, we believe, than the one that was used for the first test. You know, it's a massive headache, no question, for Craig Brathwaite and for this West Indies side. And of course, you know, Sri Lanka again actually been very consistent with the bat in this series thus far. Got off to a really, really strong start.
Definitely a strong start, Tino. Another century stand between the skipper, Dimuth Karunaratne, who got 42. Patham Nissanka, who has become a revelation in the last couple of months, 61 not out. He hit 4 fours, looked pretty good. Sri Lanka at the end of 34 overs and 4 balls won 13 for 1, which is certainly the foundation for yet another 300-plus score.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the West Indies lack that pace, that gait. Look, I tell you what, I think that losing Shannon Gabriel and not having a fixed Shannon Gabriel has really hampered the West Indies pace attack. I remember they haven't picked Zari Joseph, which I was very surprised that he's not on the tour. And you want to pick your fastest bowlers in the subcontinent because pace wins. That is what been the formula for West Indies. That is what have happened for teams who have good fast bowlers. And I thought that the four-prong attack of Roach, Holder, Zari Joseph, and Shannon Gabriel is very formidable once everyone is fit and fully ready to go. I think that the pandemic has really hampered Shannon Gabriel processes in terms of getting fit and getting match practice because there's no first class cricket around. And I just think it's a real West Indies are between a rock and a hard place, to be honest. And Sri Lanka are at home and they look really, really, really good. And that's what you want to see from a team that's playing in their own conditions.
Tino, what disappointed me, of course, was the fact that Kyle Mayers was actually into the attack just on the first hour. Roach and Holder were off, and Kyle Mayers had to be called in. The fact that we had only played 2 pacers meant that Kyle Mayers had to bowl so early.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I felt that if you were gonna leave Raheem Cornwall out the 11, I honestly believe that you had to play Jaden Seals because you needed a 3-pound pace attack. And look, I can't know for the life of me. I don't know why Zari Joseph is not in this test squad. I don't know what this young man has done behind the curtains, but he's not getting the opportunity. West Indies, he's totally regressed. Zari Joseph was one of those young fast bowlers that everybody in the Caribbean was really excited about, and he has not developed. I don't know if it's something to do with him. I don't know if it's the coaching style of the fast bowling coach in Roddy Esvey, if he's not listening or hearing. But I was with that young man in CPL, and I thought that he bowled with good pace. He looked in fantastic shape. He was the fittest person on my team, and he looked good. And I'm very surprised that he's not in this test squad in Sri Lanka. And you need your fastest bowlers on those slow docile pitches. And look, something that Henderson Springer said a long time ago, it's not about the pitch. If you're a fast bowler, you bowl fast on anything. Get that whole docile pitch and that kind of stuff out your head running and hit the deck hard. And sometimes you get bonks, sometimes you don't get no bonks, but you keep that line and length. But you run in and you bowl as quickly as you can. And Zari Joseph is one of those fast bowlers that we have. I don't know. He's lost in the wind, and it's very discouraging and very disappointing not to see that young man progress and being one of West Indies' leading fast bowlers.
And Johnny, while we talk about the fast bowlers, it's always been my view, and I think Tino has this view as well, that we should always pick our best bowlers, regardless of the surface. Yes, we are in Sri Lanka, and we are mimicking Sri Lanka by playing Permal as the second spinner. But as it had turned out, Roston Chase has been the one to make the breakthrough. So you know, are we playing our best bowlers, not fast or spin? I think that any test team should play their best bowlers. I don't know your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, is three spinners in these conditions, is that a luxury? Especially considering Chase, as you mentioned, bowled so superbly in that first test, picking up five for, as Tino suggested, Alzari Joseph. He's had a slightly disappointing time, I think, for the West Indies. I think he was averaging 40 with the ball before he was dropped, but he went away, of course, played with Worcester this summer and had a pretty good return by all accounts. And it's frustrating not to see his development. And then Jaden Seals, of course, we saw an exciting prospect. He really is. And is three spinners, if you've got two in the side, do you need three spinners? That's possibly a major luxury from a West Indies point of view. And Jaden Seals is such a hot ticket at the moment. He could be well worth a run out. And of course, if you had a fit and firing Shannon Gabriel, it's not that long ago against England. Of course, he took 9 wickets in that first test. I think purely with Shannon Gabriel, it's his fitness. If you can get him fit and firing, surely he comes into this side, but he's not quite up to the gallop at the moment.
Johnny, you mentioned the stint which Alzari Joseph had in England. And I think it's so important, as Tino mentioned, I believe, during the first test, the type of stints that young fast bowlers especially get, the opportunity to play on UK pitches when the cricket is very intense and you're moving and trying out and playing on different pitches every week.
Yeah, I think you only have to look at some of the success recently last summer. I mean, Kemar Roach took a stack of wickets for Surrey on a very flat surface at the Oval, 22 wickets across 2 games, which is just fantastic. And he continued that form all the way through the Test matches in the Caribbean. That's why it was just, why on earth he wasn't starting in this Test series is beggars belief, really. But yeah, look, I mean, the skills you can pick up in county cricket are there to all to see. And I think, as we suggested last time round, one of the problems you've got is just fitting everything in with franchise cricket and those big paychecks that are on offer. So squeezing in a 3 or 6 month potential stint for a county where the returns are nowhere near as attractive as those wonderful 20 over contracts. But if you can get as much development of these young fast bowlers, let's get Jaden Seals for it. It'd be great to see him playing in the county championship next year. It's seen as a finishing school. It always was and always has been, not just for West Indian overseas quicks, but the likes of the Australians. People like Glenn McGrath just look upon his season with Worcester as finishing school. Really, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And if we can, or if Caribbean cricket, West Indies cricket can get players of that caliber overplaying domestic 4-day cricket, it's terrific for their opportunity and development.
Tino, the batting of the Sri Lankan openers once again, Pathan Nissanka and the skipper Dimov Karatne, they not literally put West Indies to the sword, but once again they have set a foundation for what could perhaps be another victory.
Yeah, when the West Indies team lack pace, obviously they're on the home conditions, but it's all about the attitude and the captaincy of Craig Brathwaite. And look, at the end of the day, I always believe that when you're a captain, you got to make sure that your fast bowlers be aggressive as well. When you look at how the right-hander batted, and he was batting out his crease facing our pacers, it just goes to show that we have no pace in the Caribbean. Like, where are the days of 90 mile and over fast bowlers? I remember I used to get criticized for being wild, but at least I have some pace. You know what I mean? Because really and truly, pace makes guys do crazy stuff. And the thing about bowling line and length on those flat pitches with no pace, guys are going to sit on you. And you need someone that can rattle the batsman, bowl some short balls, and be aggressive. Even give them some talk. Try to slash them somewhat. But none of that at all. I think that cricket nowadays is so friendly. Oh my God, it's quite laughable. But honestly, the openers look good, and they put their team in a good, strong position. 116 for 1 is always a strong position starting a test match, especially when it's rain interrupted as well. So I think Sri Lanka is in a position of power, and I think they're going to only build on this come tomorrow morning.
The energy which Tino just spoke about seemed to have been lacking from the West Indies team. It was day one. Yes, granted, we had a late start, so you were sitting in the pavilion for almost 4 hours, but there seemed to be a lack of energy, Johnny. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I guess it's a shortened window of play, but you'd expect the West Indies to come out of the blocks a little bit sharper. But this is a pretty good Sri Lankan side at the top order. I mean, Nasanka came into the Test side averaging 68 in first-class cricket and has taken to Test match cricket like a duck to water. It's safe to say. But you would hope in that first hour with the new ball to get a little bit more of a return than the West Indies did. But these are pretty tough conditions, and if you look at the pitches behind, pitches alongside me, it just looks pretty flat. The ball rarely got off the straight. People were pushing forward. The ball was flying, outside and off an outside edge, and of course that was going down rather than into the slip cordon. It looked a pretty comfortable place to bat, and that is never ever straightforward, even with the new ball in hand.
Yeah, Tino, tell us what you would have done on a pitch like this, because you're saying that there's no 90 miles per hour. Tell us what Tino Best would have done at Gaul on day one.
It's not about what I would have done. It's about the selectors picking people like Azari Joseph. they got to pick people with pace. He's one of our quicker bowlers. You don't have a fit Shannon Gabriel. Why aren't you not touring with young Azari Joseph, who has that extra click? I remember back in 2005 when West Indies toured Sri Lanka. It was Jermaine Lawson, Darren Powell, myself, and our attitude was to run in on these flat surfaces. We don't care. We played. If you go back to the archives and see that Sri Lankan batting lineup, the three of us with no more than 25 Test matches. We had pace. We had genuine pace. And our attitude was to run at Jayasuriya and Atapattu with everything we had. Sangakkar obviously negated the pace well. But we had to make sure that we run in and bowl as quickly as we can at that Sri Lankan team back in 2005 on those flat pitches. We didn't care about the pitches. Get the flat pitch out of your head. But when you got guys like Jason Holder, Kyle Mears, and Kemar Roach, who doesn't have genuine pace, well, Kemar doesn't have any more. The Sri Lankans are just going to sit down on you. And that is where proper selection comes into play. You've got to have somebody like an Azari Joseph that's going to be an X factor. We don't have any X factors bowlers in the Caribbean. And that is something that coaching and the selectors have to look at very, very seriously. We have to improve our fast bowling stock. We need to get fitter and stronger bowlers. And we need some raw talent in 90 miles an hour. Like, there's nobody in the Caribbean bowling fast anymore. And that is so disappointing to see.
Tino, you said there's nobody bowling at 90, but there's somebody called O'Shane Thomas, who was described as the X factor for the T20 World Cup, but he went there and then did not play a single game.
Yeah, the thing about O'Shane can get quicker, but he's not a super fit person. When you're 6'4", you have to be at least 190 plus pounds. You can't be 220 and heavy as a pacer, because you're a big unit. And I think that what is going to be very critical for young fast bowlers in the Caribbean is the diet. We've got to make sure that our fast bowlers eat properly and they train correctly. I don't think that I see the fast bowlers training as hard as they should. I don't think that they're willing to push themselves, because, as I said, 2020 cricket, you get $1 million for 6 weeks. Nobody don't want to play first-class cricket and put their bodies through that anymore. So you have to change that whole attitude of our cricket holistically if we want to produce fast bowlers and actually take care of our gem in Azari Joseph. I still believe that Azari Joseph is our best fast bowler that has pace, but you have to give him the opportunity to play cricket and to keep fit.
Okay, Tino says a big plug for Azari Joseph. Johnny, let's go back to on the field. And West Indies made 2 disastrous reviews today. Craig Brathwaite, the skipper, went for 2 reviews, one of Jason Holder and one of Jamel Warrican. In fact, when Joshua De Silva indicated that he didn't hear anything, I think we certainly there needs to be some kind of practice in terms of these reviews.
Yeah, well, I mean, just looking at that LBW shout, I mean, that wouldn't have missed another set, would it? To be perfectly honest, but it can happen on days like this when you feel that opportunities to become they're going to be sort of thin through the course of the day. But I mean, it was a very, very late decision, wasn't it? Taken with a second to go. But I mean, just looking at that, I mean, that is a poor shout. It's missing everything by a long shot. It wasn't going to hit leg stump. It was sailing over the top of it, and that just looks on the angle. I mean, at one glance, that looks as if it's going to miss. And you've got the wicketkeeper needs to be a big part of that, the bowler themselves, and that looked at a very, very poor decision indeed, to be perfectly honest. And then as far as the other shouts, well, it's just one of those, isn't it? Going past the outside edge, did he touch it? Did he not? And the rest was decided by. And as you can see here, nothing showing on the spike, and again, it looks one of those that's a pretty costly call, because they could use those decisions. Just one left in the piece, isn't there, going into that second day?
Tino, your thoughts on the two reviews as called for? He actually, Craig Braffett actually called for them with 1 second to go in both occasions, but certainly two very bad reviews.
Yeah, I think that the keeper has to play a big role. Look, I remember playing with guys like Riley Jacobs or Courtney Brown, and they used to say, and there was no DRS back in the days, and sometimes when a batsman get hit on the pad, either sweeping at the ball or playing back, I remember Jacobs or Courtney Brown will always say, "Oh, that's missing," or "that going down slightly up. Don't worry, that one going down." And then when they actually get a good shout, they screen their lungs out. And I don't think that De Silva lines up the ball good enough sometimes, because that LBW decision was horrific. If you're a keeper and you start to go on your left foot, that indicates to you that the ball is going on leg side. It's very rare that the ball might straighten, but you as the wicketkeeper have to determine that right there and then. So I don't think that at the end of the day, I think that the keeper plays the biggest part in helping the captain decide when to go for those reviews or not. And De Silva and Craig Braffett both got them wrong today.
Do you think that Joshua De Silva, because he's in the embryonic stages of his career, feels a little undercooked at the moment in terms of being forthright and calling or not calling for a review as the wicketkeeper?
I think that the wicketkeeper have to line up the bowler. I think that it's up to him. It's not about if he's a junior player, if he's a senior player. You as the wicketkeeper have to determine if the ball is in line or not. You are the keeper. You're the person behind the stumps. And it has to do with your equilibrium in terms of how you're wicket-keeping. If you know you're going to your left, that means the ball is going down the leg side. It's simple. It's coaching. And I think that you have to understand, Joshua De Silva have to understand his wicket-keeping. And that is something that has to be taken serious, this DRS, because it can be a big decision or big opportunity. Either you win a test match or you lose a test match. So he has to look at that very, very seriously when he wants to help the captain out.
Johnny, interesting point by Tino in terms of the lining up, as you mentioned, of the wicketkeeper. But we did hear Joshua say on the second occasion, Warwick, the appeal for the caught behind, he says actually on the microphone, I didn't say anything. I didn't say a call for the review. So obviously he was ignored on this occasion.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I think, the wicketkeeper is arguably, certainly in terms of lining the ball up, I think is in the strongest position. As far as the snick behind, if you like, there's quite a lot of moving parts that a keeper has to contend with. He's got the batsman lunging forward. He's got a flurry of vision in front of him with the ball and the outside edge. Did it take, potentially, what else did it take on the way through? There's quite a lot going on. I think, your wicketkeeper and probably your first slip is the best person concerned to make a call as far as those decisions are concerned, because they're the closest to the action. But of course, the bowler must also take responsibility, because they've got pretty much the best view of things, haven't they? Because they've got an unrestricted view. But anyway, between all parties, unfortunately, the brains trust for the West Indies on this occasion didn't get either decision anywhere near right.
How do we go into day two, Tino? We've had day one, 34 overs and 4 balls, 113 for 1. Nasanka well set on 61, having struck 4 fours. How do the West Indies go into day two? What sort of strategy do we use at Galle?
Well, the way how Craig Braffett is captain the team so far, I think that he might go in with being protective, obviously spread the field, try to make Sri Lanka use up more time than they really need to. Get that third man down early, get that point on the boundary down early, and just continue to plug away. I would like to see Kemar Roach being a little bit more aggressive, Jason Holder being a little bit more aggressive. Look, bowl some short balls, hold the ball flat side, put some sweat on it or whatever, and try to bowl it into the pit. Try to get the ball to skid a bit more, and try to be aggressive. Put the square leg down. If they pull the ball, they got the flying leg and you got the square leg. But you have to be aggressive and look to try to take wickets. If you're going to bowl line and length all day, the Sri Lankans are just going to sit down on top of you. But you have to find ways to be a little bit more aggressive with those two pacers. With the spinners, they just have to hold the end and try to spin the ball. I think that is what's going to be important for those spinners. And that's the sentiments I hope Craig Brathwaite will be looking to tell his team and looking to use those tactics in order to pull Sri Lanka back somewhat.
And Johnny, your thoughts on strategy day 2, West Indies strategy, and then Sri Lanka strategy?
I think, well, from a Sri Lanka point of view, to be honest, they're very strong in their home conditions. Certainly in recent history, and in that first test, they've got a very a developing middle order, but the likes of the batting that they have got to come, the fact they average around about 40 in Test cricket suggests, they're well served. They've got the perfect 113 for 1. You just expect Sri Lanka, to be honest, will just be looking to bat and bat and bat, and ideally bat once in this game, which they pretty much almost did in the first test. That will be the first target for Sri Lanka. From a West Indies point of view, just need to put today out of their memory, really. 113 for 1. It's not catastrophic. People can get strong starts in these conditions with the ball that doesn't turn off the straight immediately, but it's dry, it's going to turn. You feel, certainly towards the latter stage of that first session, even the second session, that the spin options for West Indies will get a great deal more purchase. But if they can pick up a couple early on with the paces, that would be a huge bonus. But no need to panic just yet, because Sri Lanka have been vulnerable on occasions, but they just need to stick to their guns and ideally get out the blocks a bit quicker tomorrow morning.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Tino Best, former West Indies pacer, and Johnny Barron, international commentator who's at Lord's at the moment. You've been watching On Tour, the West Indies in Sri Lanka. It's been day 1 of the second test at Galle. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more on FlowSports.
To jump up, people, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your...
The West Indies will continue their ICC World Test Championship campaign immediately following the T20 World Cup, when they travel to Sri Lanka for 2 test matches. The first test will be played from November 21st to 25th, with the second and final from November 29th to December 3rd. Both games at the Galle International Stadium, and FlowSports will have live and exclusive coverage of this important series. Don't miss it. Also available on the FlowSports app. The 3-match netball series between Jamaica and England moves to Nottingham for the last 2 games. The Motorpoint Arena will be the focus of attention as the world number 4 ranked Sunshine Girls of Jamaica square off against the Roses in back-to-back games December 4th and 5th. Both games can be seen live and exclusive starting at 12 p.m. ECT, 11 a.m. in Jamaica on Extra 7. Also available on the FlowSports app. The Staples Center in California is famous for being the home of legendary NBA team the Los Angeles Lakers. But on Sunday, December 5th, it plays host to what should be a gripping lightweight boxing showdown between Gervonta Davis, who puts his belt on the line, against another rising star in the lightweight division, Isaac Cruz. Fight time 11 p.m. ECT, 10 p.m. Jamaica, live and exclusive on FlowSports. Second leg semi-final action in the Scotiabank CONCACAF League kicks off on Tuesday. Comunicaciones will take a 1-0 lead into the second leg of their All-Guatemala clash with Guastatoya. You can see the game live and exclusive starting at 11 p.m. ECT, 10 p.m. in Jamaica on FlowSports. Also available on the FlowSports app.
Chris Gayle, 41 years old, what?
I have to add something to that.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris Gayle, 41 years old. Pretty hot and tempting, universe boss.
Kevin Sinclair, 21 years old, just cool and calm, yeah.
Kevin Sinclair, what's your date of birth?
My date of birth is 23rd of November, 1999.
You know that I'm 41, almost twice the age?
Yeah, I know that.
The first World Cup I remember watching, I grew up without TV, so I don't really watch cricket. I was never a cricket watcher.
Chris, what year Sammy win the first World Cup? That was 2012?
Yeah, 2012, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first World Cup.
When I grew up, I used to listen to music on the radio, and then I'll record it with the cassette. And those days, I used to have Walkman.
I grew up with my grandfather, so it's more like Benny King, the oldies, and you know, back in the 70s and 80s.
My first fashion trend, I'm so fashionable. Back in the days, you know, when you put on a pants, it was this big on you.
This generation now, we like to take it and get it a bit high.
Favorite book? No, I'm not a big reader, to be honest with you.
I get a paper, I turn to the back, sports, and that's all I do.
I've actually read 50 Shades of Grey. Seriously, it's a good book. I've done my own book, Six Machine. The first cricketer I pretend to be? I didn't pretend to be any cricketer, to be honest with you. I was just always myself.
Chris never knew this or never really say it. Back in 2014, we went at your ground.
Lucas Cricket Club.
Yeah, Lucas. And I looked up and see his picture, so one day, can I be like him? And here I am, man. Yeah, man.
Welcome, man, for real, dreams do come true. Let's enjoy it, capitalize on it, and have fun.